Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Jacob System video podcast. I'm the host, Jake.
And I am Joel, and we are coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. Cheers.
Cheers.
And today we are drinking Magic Hat number 9. And there's a very special reason why we're drinking a beer called Magic Hat, because we're going to be watching a movie that has to do with magic.
It's a magical movie called Willow.
Willow! Oh man, I know all you Ron Howard fans are going crazy right now.
They're going nuts. They can't contain themselves.
I know.
All the Warwick Davis fans are going.
I know. They're screaming up and down, jumping up. And I am excited to see this because I loved this movie, and I saw it as an older person. I didn't see this when I was a kid. I saw it as a college. I was 21, I think. I was 21. And my friends were like, oh, you got to watch it. I guess it was one of those, like, kids' movies that was, like, really good, that, like The Goonies and, like...
I don't know if it's really good.
Well, my friends loved it.
I like it a lot. It's a childhood classic for me, but whenever you like read the reviews of it and everything, people were like, "Oh, it was terrible. Yeah, it's just like a joke." Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. It's a good, just fantasy, sci-fi kind of movie.
It taught me a lot.
Right.
The first lesson, it taught me that red-headed women can be hot.
That's the first time.
That's the first time I thought a red-headed woman was hot. Was when I watched this movie. What's her name?
I don't know. The actress.
Hot redhead number 1. We'll call her. What's your name?
Joanne Wally. I don't know.
Okay,
she was married to Val Kilmer though. They actually met when they were making this movie, and then I guess they had like a terrible like breakup, divorce thing, and now I'm sure Val Kilmer like hates any memory of Willow, and so like people like, can you sign this Willow poster? Like, no.
No, damn it, give me that Top Gun.
I hate that movie.
Yeah,
but it's a classic for kids in the 80s. People fans of George Lucas, because it was Ron Howard directed it, but George Lucas wrote the story.
Yeah.
And I was doing some research. I guess he actually wrote the story, or came up with the idea. Back in 1972.
Oh, so pre-Star Wars.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know when he first wrote this, like the original scripts for Star Wars, but yeah, this goes back quite a ways, and it's you can tell he was very influenced by like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Swords and sorcery, Middle Earth, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, elves and witches and stuff.
Yeah. One thing I love about this movie is the bad guys are clearly the bad guys. Like, the guy's got skulls all over his armor. Like, it's just
clear. Yeah,
it's just very plain and just very generic, but at the same time, like, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch it again. It's been a long time.
So you saw it in college. And was that the last time you saw it? Or
Yeah.
Since then? Okay.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was a kid. The thing I remember the most from Willow was the toys. They had little toys. Yeah.
Of course.
Toys.
The toys.
They had little
toys,
but they weren't like action figures though. They were just little like models, almost like little things that people use like for role playing games.
Well, yeah, because they're tiny people.
Right. Yeah.
They have to make the action figures tiny.
They
as
made
well.
little tiny toys, but they weren't like they didn't move. So I always thought that was kind of annoying. Like why can't I move the arms?
Yeah.
And they had like little. Like they were plastic toys, but they had like real like heavy, I'm sure like lead based like paint and all this stuff, like bases on it. So whenever I think of Willow as a kid, that's the first thing I remember. I also remember the video game. There was an arcade game, and I remember we used to go to this burger place here in Columbus called Flaky Jake's back in the 80s, and they had that arcade game in the restaurant. I always remember seeing like the intro part as like it's playing over the beginning, like insert coins now, like it's like the thing.
That's cool.
So those are the things that immediately pop into my head. But I mean, it's a good movie. It's got good music. It's got a lot of fun. I think they originally thought it was going to be much bigger than it ended up being, because the reviews were mixed, and it obviously they didn't.
Obviously, isn't that the case with any like bad movie though? They always think it's going to be bigger than it actually is. Yeah,
but I mean, think like with the people who made it, they'd be like, oh, this is like a home run for sure, George Lucas. They're probably like, this is going to be the next Star Wars. It's going to be like the new Star Wars, but it's going to be all like knights and.
It's
like,
ironic though, because we did an episode. We reviewed the Star Wars original uncut edition, and we talked about how at the time they were making it, nobody believed in it, and they were like, "This is just weird. It's terrible," and it turned out to be an amazing, huge success. Right. And yet they were working on Howard the Duck or Willow. They're like, this is going to be great. And then it turned out to be terrible.
Yeah. Well,
it's just funny how that
I think
works.
Willow's better than Howard the Duck.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
easily.
it's got a much bigger fan base.
That's not much of an achievement.
Right. But
So,
Willow, it's been a while since I've watched it. Got the Blu-ray here, so we're going to check it out.
Yep.
And we'll be back with the review.
all right, bye.
Bye. All right, guys, we're back. We just watched Willow from 1988.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Wow. So many great flashbacks, so many great memories. The first thing we were going to talk about when we were getting into it was the use of Lucasfilm, the iconic kind of emblem and logo we see, that we're so accustomed to now, seeing before the Star Wars movies. I think you made out an interesting point that was the first time you see like the graphic.
I think so. Like at the very beginning of the movie, because it was a Lucasfilm production or whatever. Because before the special editions and all that, I think like the original Lucasfilm, when you saw in the beginning of Star Wars, it was always just like the regular text.
Yeah, it was just
Lucasfilm, right?
Yeah, it was pretty.
And then they had that kind of like stylized logo that you see at the beginning of every Star Wars movie now. So they showed it at the beginning of this, but it was kind of like an earlier draft of it. So we noticed like that's a cool.
It's kind of
cool to see like the original, like I guess, design of that logo.
So one thing I remember about this movie is I watched it in college, and for whatever reason, my friends were like, I never had a nickname, so my friends gave me the name of Burkle Cut, which I don't know why.
Burkle Cut is one of the characters in the movie, played by a little person who is kind of like the jerk.
He's
character.
kind of the jerk.
He's like the guy who's like, Willow, you owe me money. Like, give me money. Like, and he's like,
Yeah.
and he's the guy who never like believes in anything that Willow says. Like, we got to do this. Like, oh, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna go.
We're gonna go do something else. But,
apparently, Joel is nicknamed Burkle Cut.
And to this day, my friends back home still call me, "What's up, Bergs? Hey, Burgle." And ever
We're
since,
like, why did they call you Burkle Cut? And I was like, was that because in college you were a bald little person?
No, yeah, I don't know why. Like we just on a limb just watched the movie, and they were just like, I think I said something like, I've never had a nickname. Like every nickname.
You sealed your fate with that.
Yeah, I sealed my fate by
Burkle
saying
Cut.
like, I've never had a nickname.
So from now on in the videos, we're going to introduce it as Jake and Burkle Cut.
God, I hope not. But yeah, so
yeah,
Val Kilmer. So interesting fact. This is my favorite Val Kilmer like character like that he's
Really?
ever played. Yeah, I would say like I loved Mad Mardigan. Even to an extent, I'm not gonna say I liked him more than Han Solo when I first saw him, but
Right.
he's
Well,
very much a Han Solo kind of character.
One thing you notice that's pretty obvious in this movie, not just the fact that it was written by George Lucas, but a lot of the characters are kind of like mirror images of Star Wars characters, but it's just
They're archetypes.
right.
Yeah.
But they're
Archetypes.
but they're like, in medieval times. So obviously Willow is like the Luke Skywalker character because he's like the farm guy.
Yeah, he's like
he gets called to action, doesn't want to like do this. Like I'm just well, I guess it's kind of opposite because Luke wants to go to action.
Right.
But in the movie, Willow's like, I don't want to do anything.
I don't want to do anything.
And he's a very reluctant hero because there's let's get into the basic story of the movie. There's a evil queen who there's like a prophecy
prophecy against her.
Right, this baby is going to be born and it'll have a birthmark, and then that's the baby that's going to be the downfall of this evil queen. So then the baby's born and the queen's trying to find the baby, and then they take the baby and they
put it in a basket.
Put it in a basket, like
put it up the river.
Down the river, and then these.
If you're Jewish, you know exactly where they got that from.
And then the character Willow, he's what's called an Elwyn, which is kind of like a dwarf. I don't know.
Yeah, they're like
these little people play the characters, and that's something we noticed too. Is that's cool in older movies like the '80s, like. If they would have made The Lord of the Rings in the 80s, they would have cast all little people to play the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, they just digitally, shrink them down. So,
do you think that is better? Do you think that works better?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, it's fun to see, so many characters who are, it's a more natural filmmaking as opposed to everything being so digital, and you get a lot of cool special effects in this movie, a lot of old school stop motion, like clay kind of like
you
creatures and stuff.
You
like
talked
that.
about that dragon being similar to the Rancor in Jedi.
Right. But like the whole thing with the baby, like Willow is it's the same guy. Willow is a very reluctant hero because they find this baby that was saved, and he's right off the bat. It's like, we can't keep this baby. Let's get rid of it. Like send it down the river. Someone else.
Yeah.
He's always trying to like pass off the responsibility to someone else. Like I'm not gonna deal with this. You take it. So then it's cool that you're
like, that's our hero.
Just send the baby down the street. It's fine.
Or just leave it. Someone else will deal with it.
So it's funny it's cool to see in the movie as the movie goes on. Obviously, he becomes more
conscientious.
He accepts his call to action and does the right thing and stuff. But you have like Willow, who's like Luke Skywalker, Mad Mardigan, Val Kilmer's character, who's very much like a Han Solo kind of like a rebel, kind of like on his own,
kind of a
doesn't really
chaotic neutral for all you D&D people.
Right, doesn't want to like join up with the people. Then finally he's like, all right, I guess I'll be a good guy, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then like there's other, there's the bad guy. there's the bad guy
who's decked out in skeleton armor.
There's the bad guy named General Kale.
Yeah.
Who is clearly like a Darth Vader character because he's got this like skull mask and a big cape and stuff.
And we were laughing. We were laughing throughout the film because I don't know what the actor was like doing, but every time he would say a line, it would have the same kind.
So much of the movie
inflection and cadence to it.
Yeah. So much of the movie is him riding on a horse, like running into battle or like running into a castle or something, and he's always like, "We're here, find the baby."
And we were laughing because if you're familiar with Lemmy Kilmister.
Lemmy Kilmister. I'm like, was the guy who did the voice? Did they hire Lemmy from Motorhead?
The Ace of Spades, get that baby. Like, it's just
find the baby,
kill the dragon, and then find the baby.
Literally, the whole movie we're cracking up. We're like, there's Lemmy.
Yeah, there's Lemmy. This guy. I don't know who he was, but he clearly was channeling Lemmy every time he had a line of dialogue.
Yeah, it was great.
So,
a lot of cool costumes in the movie. A lot of cool, like you said in the pre-video, you know the villains are villains because they're so decked out, like
in evilness.
Right, the dude's got like a skull mask, and like the evil queen is like. She literally has like horns like on her like, helmet and stuff. Like, oh, I wonder if she's good or bad.
Has there ever been a good guy who has worn skulls or horns?
I don't think so. Not really.
Probably not.
We're talking about like practical effects, and there's like these creatures in the movie that run around. They're clearly dogs.
Yeah.
They just put like weird costumes on dogs, like weird kind of like pig face dogs that run around like real hairy and stuff.
Yeah, I could just see George Lucas like, oh yeah, I got a Malamute. And, if we just put some of those things on it, and we'll just have it run around, and we'll give it a little tail. It'll be real scary, Ron. What do you think? And it just like clearly it's like dogs decked out in like this cheap costumes.
It looks cool though. I mean, it's when you think of the idea.
I thought it was corny.
You think it looked good?
I wasn't like. I just was kind of like, I don't know.
It was 1988.
It was. It was just dated. I get it.
So even though they did practical effects that seem, kind of.
No, at that time, I'm sure it was great.
Yeah, but they were groundbreaking industrial light magic. George Lucas's whole special effects team. And this was one of the first movies to feature, I guess, this certain type of special effects, which is like the morphing special effect. It's a lot of people know like from the Michael Jackson video, Black and White,
where the people change face.
I guess this is one of the first instances of that.
Where they use that technology.
Right. Because there's a scene where like the Willow's trying to change the
good sorceress
into her.
Well, I call her Glenda the Good Witch.
Trying to put her back to her normal like human form.
Mm-hmm. She's a muskrat.
She's like a muskrat, and then then he turns her into a crow,
and then a goat,
and then there's the scene
she's like, "Wow, you idiot!"
But then the morphing scene is when she transforms from a goat into an ostrich, into a turtle, and then into a tiger, and then finally into her human form.
Yeah. And
I guess at the time that morphing special effect was like awesome, and people were like, "Holy crap, this is great!"
She basically looked like Carol Kane. It was just this old woman.
Yeah. And then the character is totally like an Obi-Wan character. Like we're saying, every character in this movie you could find their doppelganger for Star Wars. So
yeah, I'm surprised.
It's like they took the same formula and then like George Lucas was like, well, this was George Lucas was like, well, this one was in space, so let's just make this one with in the middle, in the nights and all that stuff.
Yeah, in the nights.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were any Easter eggs. I know sometimes there are like Star Wars Easter eggs.
Star Wars?
Or
no, I don't know.
I think the Easter egg you said, there was one that they named the double-headed dragon.
Yeah, there's a really cool scene in the movie within the castle. There's a cool scene in the castle where they have a double-headed dragon that comes out of this like swamp thing.
Yeah.
And then the name of the dragon was like Ebersisk or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I read online that they're like, that was a nod to Siskel and Ebert, like
being this double-headed dragon.
Kind of like, oh yeah, like
way to stick it to them, guys.
Maybe they thought like we know they're gonna hate this movie. Let's just make fun of them.
Like, oh, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we name the dragon after the Siskel and Ebert guys?
Right.
Oh boy.
So I don't know what Siskel and Ebert thought of it, but I liked the movie. I liked it when I was a kid, and watching it now, like I bought the Blu-ray when it came out, but I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, But it still holds up. It's still, yeah, it's still a very fun adventure, sci-fi action. Whatever.
Yeah, there are other like sword and sorcery films I'd like for us to do, like freaking Lady Hawk, or
I've never seen that. Isn't that like the
Matthew Broderick,
Michelle Pfeiffer one or something?
No, well, yeah, she might be in that. And then Legend.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever even seen the whole thing of that. I've seen parts of it. That's the one that has like Tim Curry.
Yeah.
And like the weird like devil costume and Tom Cruise.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I'd like to watch that. I've never seen it.
We might start doing some like reviews of just old sword and sorcery movies.
Yeah.
We've been watching them on the new Mystery Science Theater 3000, and they've been pretty fun.
Yeah.
They've been pretty funny.
That episode was
Wizards of Lost Kingdom.
Wizards of the
If you
Lost
haven't
Kingdom.
seen the new Mystery Science Theater, check it out. And if you want to laugh your head off, watch the Wizards of Lost Kingdom. Start with 2.
You could watch both. I mean, 2 is definitely funnier, I thought.
Yeah, 2 is funnier.
Yeah, 2, but
you won't be lost.
it's great. It's just
it's kind of sparked my interest in like really bad sword and sorcery movies. And this one isn't bad. I wouldn't say this is bad at all compared to like.
It got mixed reviews when it came out. I think, like we were saying before, people, I guess, Lucasfilm thought it was probably going to be a bigger hit than it was, and
probably
it just didn't. It didn't, for whatever reason, it wasn't as popular as I thought it was going to be. But even though it does have its cult following, and there are definitely fans of it here. Two of them right here.
Yeah.
Anyways,
for sure.
Willow. Fun stuff. I'm
Check it
sure
out.
if you have seen it, you know about it. If not, check it out if you want to watch like a fun 80s sword and sorcery movie.
Redheads are hot.
Joel had a discovery the first time he saw it.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, there are hot redheaded women out there.
Yeah.
Well,
All
I'll
right.
be damned.
Well, all right. Well, I think we're done for this one. So I'm not sure what we're going to do next time. We still need to finish the Punisher.
We still need to finish the
trilogy,
Punisher, and
so we're going to get around to doing
also
the Punisher.
too, we want to do maybe the Dark Crystal because I don't know if you have heard, but Netflix is making a TV prequel.
Yeah.
And it's going to be all puppet, all animatronic as it was before.
That's awesome. Yep.
So
Dark Crystal, it's been a long time since I've seen that. And I remember that was a movie that scared me as a kid, and just because of the weird, what are they called, the Skeksis or something?
Skeksis.
The weird, like, vulture people.
Yeah, the
thing.
reptiles, the vulture people.
Weird.
Yeah, because I remember they would like take those little podlings and they would drain their essence and then they would drink it, and you're just like, what the heck? Jumping Jehoshaphat! That like you'd wake up and
Scary stuff.
Yeah. So
well, scary stuff if you're a kid, but now
yeah.
I might get scared. We'll see.
Let's hope not.
All right, guys.
All right, take care.
Well, thanks for sticking around and watching the Jacob System video podcast this time.
Yep.
Make sure to subscribe to the Jacob System YouTube channel as well as the Con Guy, because we're also going to be doing some more videos for the Con Guy as well, some toy reviews and stuff like that. And thanks for sticking around. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.